Hi, it's Miles Red Songbird. First, I want to start by telling you about a video I just uploaded. Video on Miles Red Birdsong YouTube channel, and it's called Jesus Chose Einstein's Mind to Take Down the Rothschilds. Jesus Christ, where's he at? Oh, there he is. Jesus Christ. This is a 21st century form of Jesus Christ, Gorinda Singh. Okay, he is a very smartest Jew. He was a rabbi. And he chose another smart Jew, Einstein, to expose a family of smart Jews, the Rothschilds family banking dynasty. Jesus chose the smartest, the hardest working, and most honorable Jew next to him to help him save the world. Einstein's mind is in Jesus Christ's wife's body, Eve, the Michelle Birdsong. Adam, you're looking at a picture of Adam, Michael Bublé's his name, this life, sings, "You know that you're the one we've been waiting for. We're gonna keep you safe." That's in the song Forever Now, and Michael Bublé says that to Eve. Check out the video. I found it fun to do. It also says Stevie Wonder can't wipe his ass without smelling his fingertips. That's where he, Judas, evil genius Hitler, got the title of his first hit. Hitler, bullshitter, fingers are tipsters. That's it, sounds hip, fingertips, dipshit. Okay, so that's that page. That's a fun page. Now let's get to what I really wanted to write a video about. Beginning, President John F. Kennedy address the President and the press, given before the American Newspaper Publishers Association at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in New York City, April 27, 1961. Special thanks to the John F. Kennedy Library and Museum. And this is what President Kennedy says. "Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate very much your generous invitation to be here today. You bear heavy responsibilities these days, and an article I read some time ago reminded me of how particularly heavy the burdens of present-day events bear upon your profession. You may remember that in 1851, the New York Herald Tribune, under the sponsorship and publishing of Horace Greeley, employed as its London correspondent an obscure journalist by the name of Karl Marx. We are told that foreign correspondent Marx, stone-broken with a family ill and undernourished, constantly appealed to Greeley and managing editor Charles Dana for an increase in his munificent salary of $5 per installment, a salary which he and Ingalls ungratefully labeled as the lousiest petty bourgeois cheating. And you hear laughter among the newspaper people there in the auditorium at the Waldorf. But when all his financial appeals were refused, Marx looked around for other means of livelihood and fame, eventually terminating his relationship with the Tribune and devoting his talents full-time to the cause that would bequeath to the world the seeds of Leninism, Stalinism, revolution, and the Cold War. If only this capitalistic New York newspaper, now you hear laughter, whistling, laughing, clapping, had treated him more kindly. Laughter. I don't get this joke. Charan Singh said a joke is when everybody thinks it's funny. This man was, his family was hungry and they're laughing. I don't think that's funny. But I guess we didn't have that consciousness at that time. So he says, and I hope all publishers will bear this lesson in mind the next time, and there's more laughter. They receive a poverty-stricken appeal for a small increase in the expense amount from an obscure newspaperman. Clapping occurs. Now, see, having been raised in a poverty-stricken household, I don't think that's funny. My mother worked as hard as you can work and made chump change, and she had been the valedictorian of her class, and she had been the most beautiful woman ever to live in that town, Clarksville, Tennessee. Yes, she worked for 2.5 cents a shirt, stomping a press, standing on cement floor from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. with 2 15-minute breaks. And I went to get her check one time, and it was $23. You see, that's not right. Of course, we were colored, and they were discriminating against colored people. Because she wanted to go to college. She had the brains to go to college, because it took brains to go to college then. It doesn't take brains to go to college now. All it takes is brown skin. But anyhow, the college, Austin Peay State College, was segregated, so she couldn't go to that college. So she had to take this crappy job, and she'd come home so tired she didn't feel like mothering. Not that she knew how to mother. Her mother had given her away. Okay, so let me finish. President Kennedy says, I have selected as a title of my remarks tonight, the President and the Press. Some have suggested that this would be more naturally worded, the President versus the Press. But those are not my sentiments tonight. It is true, however, that when a well-known diplomat from another country demanded recently that our State Department repudiate certain newspaper attacks on his colleague, it was unnecessary for us to reply that this administration was not responsible for the press, for the press had already made it clear that it was not responsible for this administration. More laughter. Nevertheless, President Kennedy was a Gemini. He had a great sense of humor. Nevertheless, my purpose here tonight is not to deliver the usual assault on the so-called one-party press. On the contrary, in recent months, I have rarely heard any complaints about political bias in the press except from a few Republicans. Laughter. President Kennedy was a Democrat. Nor is it my purpose tonight to discuss or defend the televising of presidential press conferences. I think it is highly beneficial to have some 20 million Americans regularly sit in on these conferences to observe, if I may say so, the incisive, the intelligent, and the courteous qualities displayed by your Washington correspondents. Laughter. Nor, finally, are these remarks intended to examine the proper degree of privacy which the press should allow to any president and his family. Note, the press covered up JFK's relationship, his affair with his girlfriend, sex goddess Marilyn Monroe, Eve, Mary, wife of Jesus Christ, projection Einstein, Evangeline, now the Michelle Birdsong, daughter of the Son, God in heaven. If in the last few months you White House reporters and photographers have been attending church services with regularity, that has surely done them no harm. Laughter, not funny, real clapping. I said it's not funny. I mean, they should attend church. They should do anything to, respect respect, being devoted, devotion to Jesus Christ, who sacrificed his life. Why is that? Why is that a joke? And yet, these people were cynical even then in the 60s. This was 1961. On the other hand, I realize your staff and wire service photographers may be complaining they do not enjoy the same green privileges at the local golf clubs which they once did. It is true that my predecessor did not object as I do to pictures of one's golfing skills in action. Okay, now that's funny. He's saying he's not a good golfer. But neither, on the other hand, has he ever been a Secret Service man. My topic tonight is a more sober one of concern to publishers as well as editors. I want to talk about our common responsibilities in the face of a common danger. The events of recent weeks may have helped to illuminate that challenge for some, but the dimensions of its threat have loomed large on the horizon for many years. Whatever our hopes may be for the future, for reducing the threat or living with it, there is no escaping either the gravity of the totality of its challenge to our survival and to our security, a challenge that confronts us in unaccustomed ways in every sphere. Note, personal. My husband this life, Michael John Speer, had been Albert Speer, Hitler's architect. He had a death wish. I did not know his background then, but I did perceive his wish to end it. My challenge was met with success due to my background as having been psychiatrist, Freud, Pearls, Jung's wife, and the wife of Jesus Christ. All of these characters and loves led to the development of Talk and Share, a cure for madness. This process I used, along with my personality, to keep Michael John Speer's will to live alive thus far. We, the world, have benefited by his working to keep great souls, sing birdsong King Menelaus, Robin Birdsong scientist Galileo alive, plus his, Michael John Speer's character as having been the great master, the perfect living master, grandfather of 1st and 20th century Jesus Christ. Michael John Speer saw one sing Anna St. Anthony. Was that last part clear? I was saying that it's good that I kept Michael John Speer alive because he had been the great master of India, the perfect living master of India, and the grandfather of the 1st and 20th century Jesus Christ, Charan Singh. Okay. I also said that Michael John Speer had been the Saint Anthony. Thankfully, Talk and Share is widely accessible for a small price compared to its monumental results if done properly. Whatever our hopes may be for the future Okay, now we're back to President Kennedy's speech. He says, whatever our hopes may be for the future for reducing the threat of living with it, there is no escaping either the gravity or the totality of its challenge that confronts us in unaccustomed ways in every sphere of human activity. This deadly challenge imposes upon our society two requirements of direct concern both to the press and to the president. Two requirements that may seem almost contradictory in tone, but which must be reconciled and fulfilled if we are to meet this national peril. I refer first to the need for a far greater public information, and second to the need for far greater official secrecy. The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. Open? Okay, now this is my comment. Do we know that the United States is a corporation sold by the Congress in the Act of 1871 to the Rothschild family bankers called the Crown? Do we know that? I don't think so. So we're not an open society. We're a secret society because that's a secret. All right, now let's go back to okay, this is what President Kennedy's saying. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths. Okay, then I say, dual citizenship to Israel, the Jesuits, Skull and Bones, Freemasons, all bar attorneys pledge allegiance to the Crown, to the Rothschilds. Speaking of secret societies. Okay, President Kennedy says, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealments of pertinent facts far outweigh the dangers which are cited to justify it. Even today, there is little value in opposing the threat of a closed society by imitating its arbitrary restrictions. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. I say, note, social media and NSA, CIA. Okay, President Kennedy says that I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control. And I say, they killed him to deny him, the United States President, any control against social media, Jewish titans, NSA, CIA, and the Crown, the Rothschilds. President Kennedy went on to say, and no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news. I say, note, mainstream media news is fake news. Okay, President Kennedy says to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press or the public the facts they deserve to know. And I say, everybody will know what they have a right to know. But I do ask, says President Kennedy, clapping and whistling occurs, but I do ask every publisher, every editor, and every newsman in the nation to re-examine his own standards and to recognize the nature of our country's peril. In times of war, the government and the press have customarily joined in an effort based largely on self-discipline. Note, I say this, not the Vietnam War. And then President Kennedy says to prevent unauthorized disclosures to the enemy. And I say the Ellsberg leak with New York Times, the Pentagon Papers. The Pentagon Papers was the name given to a top-secret Department of Defense study of U.S. corporation political and military involvement in Vietnam from 1945 to 1967. Alternative titles: U.S. corporation decision-making in Vietnam, 1945 to 1968. Okay, let's do some decoding. Vietnam: victory, pleasure, extraterrestrial, Ma, mother of the earth. A MMA. It's Miles Red Michelle Anderson. Yeah. Miles Red Michelle Anderson. Right. Okay. Adams Anderson. And Angel, daughter of the sun. Lord of the Soul. RS is Lord of the Soul. Radhasomi. And here is Eve. 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 Lord of the Soul. Radhasomi. Ordered in the world, in play. Okay, what else we got? Lord of the Soul, an angel, Miles Red, ordered, daughter of the sun, Eve, enter, April 9, 1945. Oh, this is my birth being ordered. That's when I was born. Oh, they were ordering Miles Red Michelle Anderson, April 9, 1945. There it is officially. I was born. Yes, I was ordered in. Back to JFK's speech. The President and the press, if you are awaiting a finding of clear and present danger, then I can only say that the danger has never been more clear and its presence has never been more imminent. In time of clear and present danger, note. What is that? Sources say CIA blew his head off. Speaking of clear and present danger. Back to JFK. The courts have held that even the privileged rights of the First Amendment must yield to the public's need for national security. Note, I say, the U.S. Constitution was tossed in the dustbin in 1871 when Congress made the United States a corporation and bonded it to the Jewish British bankers, the Rothschilds family. That's why the left doesn't go by the U.S. Constitution. They go by what's good for business of Rothschilds bankers. The United States is a business run by criminals, usurers, Jewish bankers, the Rothschilds. Okay, now that's your information. Now President Kennedy is saying, today no war has been declared, and however fierce the struggle may be, it may never be declared in the traditional fashion. Our way of life is under attack, that's for sure. Those who make themselves our enemy are advancing around the globe. The survival of our friends is in danger. Note, JFK is in danger, a friend of the United States. And then President Kennedy says, and yet no war has been declared, no borders have been crossed by marching troops, no missiles have been fired. If the press is awaiting a declaration of war before it imposes the self-discipline of combat conditions, then I can only say no war has ever posed more of a threat to our security. If you are awaiting a finding of clear and present danger, then I can only say that the danger has never been more clear and the presence has never been more imminent. It requires a change in outlook, a change in tactics, a change in missions by the government, by the people, by every businessman or labor leader, and by every newspaper. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy. Note, I say thus, the Vatican, Jesuits, the Jews, Rothschilds, the British common rule world, the Act of 1871. Okay, so that's the monolithic and ruthless conspiracy. Now, President Kennedy says, a ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means, hidden means for expanding its sphere of influence or infiltration. And then I say the Muslim Brotherhood. See YouTube video, The Red Thread. Okay. And then who rules the anti-Trump conspiracies at West Molyneux. Okay, now President Kennedy says on infiltration instead of invasion or subversion, instead of elections on intimidation, instead of free choice on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast, large human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, and then I say the UN, intelligence, I say CIA, economic, I say unions, labor, welfare, food stamps, EBT, and then he says scientific, I say NASA, and political operations, I say Democrats, Republicans, Green Party, Socialist Party, Communist Party, and then Congress, Supreme, and lower courts. JFK says his preparations are concealed, not published documents, and then I say not published documents, they're marked classified. And then he says his preparations are concealed. National security reasons. Oh, this is me talking, right? Yeah, let me finish what I have to say about it. Not published documents, marked classified, national security reasons, content, words, ideas redacted, which means it's marked out with black marker. Okay, JFK says its mistakes are buried. I say Benghazi 4. JFK says not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced. And then I say conservative speech is banned. JFK says not praised. No expenditure. And then I say is questioned. Note, no amount of money politicians or their friends spend or waste is questioned. Michelle Obama wasted $2 million on a failed school nutrition program. Okay, JFK says no rumor is printed. I say, note the Jews, the Antichrist, Satan runs the world. JFK says no secret is revealed. And then I say, note, until now, we're telling the secrets. We are mainstreaming clues to you about the Holy Royal Family is mainstreaming clues to you. Okay, JFK says, it conducts a Cold War, in short, with a wartime discipline no democracy would ever hope or wish to match. Nevertheless, every democracy recognizes the necessary restraints on national security. And I say, hey, JFK, we're not a democracy. We are not mob rule. Despite Democrats to Brett Kavanaugh, we are supposed to be a constitutional republic, ruled by the Constitution. But we are ruled by the Jews who made United States of America their corporation, purchased by usury, too high of interest, loans made to the government in 1871 in exchange for its citizens being made to work it off if the government doesn't pay back the $20 trillion it owes the bankers, the money lenders, Rothschilds. They don't want Shakespeare Eve in the schools because she warned never a borrower or lender be. Don't be the United States Corporation. And don't be the Shylock Jews, Rothschilds, money lenders at exorbitant rates, compound interest. Is that exponential? Go to KhanAcademy.com to learn about compound interest. And the question remains whether these... Okay, that's all I'm going to talk about for now. I'll make another video, part 2, to tell you the rest of the JFK press conference and my comments about it. So long.